Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back now with this dynamic duo. Yes, they sure are. Drucker Media here joining us. Samantha Bessudo Drucker and Jeffrey Drucker as well. Once again, from Drucker Media Incorporated, based out of New York City and Miami. There's a lot to them. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Hi,
Hello.
good afternoon, Jill. So we're so excited. Together, we are Love and Design Project. We are what happens when an image consultant marries an architect and they share a passion for city living and renovation. And so, yeah, that's who we are. That's what we do. And I think we're a little bit different in that aspect as a design duo. One, yes, we're married. And two, my husband is an architect. And I have been an image consultant, a celebrity image consultant
Host,
for 20
author,
years.
so much.
20
you have
years.
many,
Yes,
you wear many
host,
hats.
author. But I love city living. And when you live in a house, you can build upwards, outwards, create a she shed, whatever. When you live in the city, the jigsaw puzzle and the art of the renovation is understanding the three-dimensional puzzle of finite space. And so for Fashion Week, we thought that we would talk about the relationship between fashion and interior design and architecture.
I am so excited for this. And also want to point out, so everyone can reach out to you, what is the best forms of contact? Which website do you want to share?
Reach out to me at Samantha@socialimage.net.
Perfect. And also I'm on the SamanthaBessudoDrucker.com website. We can reach out to you there. And on social
Absolutely.
media, how can we find you?
You can find us at Love and Design Project, at Samantha Bessudo Drucker, at Jeffrey Drucker, at 90 Days to Husband Number 2.
Oh my, I love it. I love this. And drucker-media.com. So Love and Design Project. Welcome to the show, everyone. So happy to have you all here. And I know we're going to talk about interior design as well and some challenges in apartment building, but let's start with the Fashion Week concept. Go ahead, bring it on.
So there has always been a relationship between fashion and architecture and interior design, right? So think about the 60s, we had like beaded doorway treatments in apartments. It was, rebellious and hippie and, bohemian. And in the 70s, we had a lot of mirrored walls to go along with those white lounge suits because it was the turbulent disco era. And, in perfect example, in France, right, we had at the Palace of Versailles, French doors were created. Well, what we call French doors, double doors that open. It wasn't so that people could make a grand entrance, although that was a byproduct. They were actually created to adjust, to fit, to accommodate the width of the skirts and the height of the wigs and the height of the feathers on top of the high wigs.
Really?
So they literally had to create double doors that we know today as French doors. And to pick a more current example, our favorite building is the Chrysler building, which is an Art Deco building. Art Deco in the 20s, we had those long, lean lines. And just as the Chrysler building just aims vertically into the sky, when you are renovating an apartment, you have to think about using space vertically because you can't really go out. And I'm going to let Jeffrey take it from there.
Yeah.
Please, Jeffrey, go ahead.
You can't go out, you can't extend out unless you get a specialty permit, which is very hard to get. But the Chrysler building is about aesthetics and style, okay? And there is a big relationship between style, aesthetics, between architecture and fashion. In architecture, the aesthetics is about, how do you provide architectural style? How do you provide beauty and aesthetics for functional spaces?
Form and function. It goes back to form and function, whether it's a dress or an apartment.
And Jeffrey, you were intrigued at a young age. I was reading before about sandcastles. You've always had a fascination with architecture, right?
Yeah, no, this started early for me, being able to build places, how you feel in your environment. And it's the same thing whether it's a city, it's a community, or it's a residential apartment. How you feel within your space is what counts and how you will be able to interact with people, how you feel, and so forth.
Absolutely.
So
I
there's
think
nothing more
city
primary.
living has its challenges. We
Yeah.
love city living. We love being surrounded by the buzz and the energy and the art and the culture. But city living also has its challenges. And for most of us, that's a spatial challenge of
Storage.
our
Where are
apartment.
you putting your clothes and your shoes?
Exactly, exactly. Unless you don't eat and you just want to make your oven into a shoe rack. But I'm just saying,
You're so funny.
I've seen people do some crazy things
and
here.
just pulling it back for a second, there are a lot of elements of design
That's
style,
right.
I mean, the fundamental aspects of any visual design include one, shape, the shapes of the things within your
Correct.
apartment and how they're configured. Color is supremely important.
Texture, flow.
That how you lay out the space
Correct.
is obviously important. The form, the line, the lines of what you see. If you have views outside your windows, how do you experience
But
those
that's a
views?
lot to think about for most
Yeah.
people. So, just like if you are not very fashionable and you like to bring your girlfriend who's a fashionista along with you when you shop, if the idea of renovation feels overwhelming, you should consult professionals. Doesn't have to be us, although we recommend, but consult a professional. Personally, I don't like it when interior designers put their stamp on everything.
Mm-hmm.
As an image consultant, because that's the discipline I come from, I want to create each person to have their own home oasis in the big city.
So let's
and
talk about that for a
that's your
moment.
personality.
Right.
That's your style, that's your lifestyle, that's your hobbies,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you live, what your schedule is like, and your personality, and colors that are flattering to your skin tone, of course.
So let's talk about this for a moment, Samantha. So people have difficulty, in my mind, discovering or understanding what their style is. Right? They may have a style, it may be no style,
Yep.
or once they get into the design process, they struggle what their style is. They look at what they've done before, and usually you have to kind of put that aside a little bit. But what are some different types of styles that we look at usually?
We have
Art Deco, the modern,
yes,
the contemporary.
yes. We also have rustic and shabby chic and
I would say
rococo.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the most common styles that people talk
Mid-century
about
modern.
are traditional,
correct,
contemporary, and
Yep.
modern. I mean, those are the three that we hear the most. And obviously, there's different levels of traditional. Minimalist, rustic, and stuff like that. Those get to be more specific. But it's people need to.
Your apartment should reflect your personality.
Yeah, and they need to look back at what kind of things interest them and who they are. And so we often suggest that they take clippings out of magazines, out of papers, of the things that are important to them, so that we can help them understand what
their
style
design style is. And speaking of,
right.
could you share some of the elements of what design style is? Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we talked about some of those before. Shape is an element.
Mhm.
The way things are configured within the space. Color is a big element. Some people like a lot of color, but those usually clash. You usually want to have uniform color. The way the space is laid out is really very important.
Yeah.
Because the way so for instance, if in your bedroom, the bed is in the front, you're not going to feel comfortable if it's by the door. But if it's in a more relaxed position that's looking out a window or something like that,
you might sleep better.
Right, your disposition is better. So taking something as simple as that.
And there's levels of renovations. If you don't know what to do and you don't want to spend money, you could do something as simple as get a fresh coat of paint on your walls, rearrange the furniture, and get rid of the clutter. Add a few storage bins in your closet if needed, and you would be surprised what a difference just that can make.
So we call that the facelift.
Yeah,
level.
That's the that's like new lipstick.
Yeah, and I mean, anybody can do that. Painting and furniture, like Samantha said, maybe a change of linen. Or
if you get a whole new set of bed linens, do a whole bed makeover already, that's like an insta fix for your bedroom.
So that's one level.
Okay.
Then there's a second level that we call a pull and replace model. And that's kind of a mid-level. It's a renovation, but it's maybe not a full gut renovation. So if some spaces don't work for you, the kitchen's a little small and you need a little more space in the family room, or something's
Maybe
just
you
not
make an
working well.
island, or
So
maybe you have, your closet redone, something small like that.
Yeah.
So, and you might make this in a series of rooms, you might make in one space, but we call it kind of a mid-level. And then there's the full-scale remodeling, what we often call a gut renovation. I mean, obviously, that's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
And we did it while actually living there when we renovated
Right.
our
Not
place.
just new furniture, but literally changing the floor plan
Right.
of the space itself.
And that can get a little scary for some. And, we certainly
I
recommend.
love to take down walls. I do. No walls.
Well, what would you say some of the expert design rules are in renovating your home that maybe you could recommend to us?
Well, think about the flow and what your needs are. Do you have people living with you? Are you a single gal in the city or a single guy? Are you a new couple? Are you planning on making a family? Are you not planning on making a family? Are you going to be there for 5 years or 10 years? What do you have a budget for renovation? You should consider all of those things.
And in considering those things, you have a certain circumstance that you have today. Do keep the future in mind.
Yep.
If you're hopeful of getting a baby, or you might think that there might be a change in maybe you're working from home,
And
or
your
you will
hobbies,
work from home.
exactly.
Yeah.
So those are different things to keep in mind, knowing that life changes as things goes on. But another very
Flexibility.
important, exactly, is
Flexibility.
How do you use your space? You have a second bedroom. You're currently using it as second bedroom, but during the day you might want to use it as an exercise space, or you might want to use it for your office.
A multi-flex room.
Or for storage, like I do right now. I have a 6 and 8-year-old, so all the clothes that I haven't had time to donate are in one room. It's like a disaster, but I get
Oh,
it.
well,
I get it.
well, we have
There you
great
go.
ideas for you.
We have
for that.
great
Oh, good.
We
ideas.
wouldn't put it in the room. We'd find compartments underneath and above so that you can use that space if you need it for other things. But we can talk
Absolutely.
about that
We
later.
will have an episode on closets.
I
Good,
think
good.
that consistency is really important from space to space. So, you want the design to flow. And if every room, and look, you could have every room different, that might be the design. But most often, you want to have common features within the spaces so that there's some sort of uniformity while things change.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Like, for example, we have a flex room. It was a smaller bedroom of an apartment that we bought recently. And currently it is my production studio / office / extra closet / guest room / workout room.
A lot of flexibility.
Wow.
Spaces are
And I think a
most
lot of New
challenging.
Yorkers function that way, right? I know voiceover artists that produce out of their closet. They have all their controls inside their closet. There are things that you can do to multitask your space.
Although I would say that even if you have all that flexibility, you still have to have common space, and you have to maintain one focal point so that if you walk into the room, you don't see a million things happening. That's an uncomfortable space.
Yeah.
So no matter what the flexibility might be, you need to have the design in such a manner that it's not haphazard and
Right.
there aren't things all over.
So when I say consider your life, people that you live with, etc. For example, in the pandemic, right before pandemic, we saw a lot of open floor plans, open floor plans, open floor plans, and then the pandemic came, and then all of a sudden, after we were all living with each other all the time, we decided we needed private space. So people started putting in sectioned off rooms with more traditional layouts so people could have privacy and quiet doing their multiple activities. And then as soon as we were allowed to socialize again, the open floor plan came back, because at the end of the day, we are social creatures by nature.
So speaking of that, another important fact that we'll talk about in future shows is acoustics, sound transmission. Sometimes my wife and I work in the same space, and obviously we're having different conversations, the background noise and so forth. So being mindful of that with, so many people working from home, and, certainly that's going to continue to some levels. And even if you're not working from home, you have different things going on. You have kids in one room, you have grandparents in another room, whatever it may be. I think people don't pay enough attention to acoustics and then just complain about it and don't find ways of actually handling it. This is best handled when you're starting your renovation. So the proper acoustics, the proper installation can be put into the walls, and the walls can be planned in such a way that you have less sound bouncing over. You have more carpets and you have more things that absorb sound rather than hard surfaces.
Mhm.
Got it. Also, want to point out, I saw there's a great a little teaser on YouTube you guys have on your Drucker Media page. So again, if you're just tuning in, let's just remind everyone again how we can reach out to you both and to find out more about the Love and Design project.
Yes, Love and Design Project or any of our other projects, you can reach me at samantha@socialimage.net or go to my website, samanthapesudodrucker.com.
Perfect. And also, let's continue the conversation. We still have, 13 minutes left in the show, plenty of time to go.
We got plenty of time, plenty of things to talk about.
Obviously, and this is exciting. And again, just to remind everyone, the Love and Design Project, we're here with Samantha Bessudo. She's a lifestyle genie, and her husband, who's the architect, Jeffrey Drucker. They both share this love for interior design, big cities as well. And their space is always very precious. And I like how you say, I'm taste, he's technical. Together, we're unstoppable. I love that.
Thank you. Thank
Really?
you.
She has the big ideas, and I have to make them work. That's basically what we're saying.
I'll tell you, when we first got together, Jeffrey said, Samantha,
Did you meet, by the way? Do you mind me asking?
how did we we met because I was covering the story about a dating app. True story.
And I had never been in the app before. Just haphazardly, a friend kind of got me into it. So it was a haphazard opportunity that was
Amazing.
quite dynamic,
Yeah.
actually.
Hence, that was the precursor to my book, 90 Days to Husband Number 2, which is available on Amazon now. So yeah, and when early on in the game, I think at our 7th or 8th date, Jeffrey turns to me and says, I would like to make a life with you. And I'm getting all verklempt. I would like to make a life with you. Could I start by building you a kitchen?
I made a faux pas. I didn't even know. It
Oh,
wasn't
I
my
said-
intent.
I said,
She always
well,
brings
first
it up.
of all, I am not the cook. So let's make that clear. Just because I like
She
to
does
cook,
cook very
don't
well, though.
assume anything, right? And I said, but since we're on the subject of renovation, walk with me, and proceeded to tell him what walls I wanted to take out.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Watch
like,
out
walk
when
with
she
me.
says walk
Let's
with
take
me.
Now
out
hold on. Was
walls.
this in your space at the time or his
It was
space at the
his
time?
His space at the time was like, come on, let walk with me. Let's take down this wall. Let's open up this wall.
It was
Let's move this. Let's get rid of this.
Yeah, as you can see, it didn't stop. It was our starter home. It was an apartment I had inherited from my apartment, and I said, until we figure out what it is
Yeah.
we're going to do, let's give this a whirl, and let's at least feel good in our space. And it was a difficult design. The space was kind of it wasn't well lit and so forth, and we realized that together we did make the impossible happen.
Absolutely.
and
it was a place that Jeffrey had inherited from his parents. So, wasn't necessarily where a young person would want to be, or, different vibe. And so we changed it. And that was our first renovation together. The very first renovation we did, gut renovation we did.
So we'll talk about more in future shows, but everybody in the renovations, we talk about style and all this, and the first thing that comes in mind is cost and time, right?
Yeah.
And those are obviously two important factors. And when we talk about style, there are ways to design things that it's not as costly as one would believe. There's many different levels and ways to handle these kind of things. But that needs to be discussed early on. People's budgets are important. And then the second thing that's important is a schedule, okay? And where you're going to live during the renovation. Obviously, it's best if you have a relative or a way to be out of the apartment, especially in an apartment, because dust gets all over the place, to live elsewhere during that time. But we understand some people cannot. And so then, a phasing plan has to come about, especially if you're doing a gut renovation. If you're doing a facelift or an intermediate renovation, a little bit easier because you can section off one space. But those are always complicated situation and a lot of unknowns, and we've experienced it firsthand. Obviously,
we also camped out in our first renovation project together, which I would not recommend. Don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is great. You guys are really a dynamic duo. What else in particular with the Love and Design project do you want to share about remodeling and renovating for today?
Sure. So I think we should talk about our second renovation that we did together, which is on Hollywood Beach. We built our dream home on Hollywood Beach in Florida.
So we have an apartment facing the ocean. And that was
right on the beach.
An opportunity for us to design for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things we looked at was, now how do we make the most out of the views?
Mm-hmm.
How do we make the space more flexible so that we're comfortable to live in? But how do we also adapt it in such a way so that if we have guests or so forth, that it can transform in such a way?
So we had to look for a place that had the right bone structure, that we could play with. Basically, we wanted a supermodel with cheekbones so sharp you could slice a wrist on them. So, because the place has got to have the right bone structure so you can play around with it. And when you're looking for a space, if you have the opportunity to go and look for your dream home, have a criteria. We knew that we wanted to be on the beach. We knew that we wanted someplace quieter because our other life is here in Manhattan. So we wanted an escape place, right? And we wanted big windows.
Yeah. So if you do have that opportunity to look for a place that you're going to live with, whatever a type of space or location might be, but having a criteria and sticking to it is really important. I can tell you that we looked for that particular place close to 9 months, I would say, and we each
I saw 100 apartments.
We each kind of moved away from our criteria. Each of us pulled
the
ourselves
other one back.
So
and we decided that a view of the ocean was non-negotiable. So we negotiated in other areas, but kept that as a primary.
So selection of space and what you're going to do and what are your most important components within obviously the budget you have is an important thing to do. Try not to compromise and try to look further.
It's true. I think that, especially as city dwellers and New Yorkers, particularly if you live in London, Paris, Rome, New York, we feel such, I call it real estate pressure. When you need to move into a new place, you need to find a new home, but it is such a tight market that you feel pressured. And I say, do not feel pressured. Your unicorn exists. Write down your criteria.
And that's for a new home. But if you're, in an existing location, which you like or would like to make better, then that's the evaluation is this someplace, we want to live here for a period of time. Then, you may opt for a more gut renovation. Or is this a starter apartment? Is this an apartment that we will need to transition because we expect to bring kids along the way and we're going to need a larger space? So depending on your situation in life, it dictates what level of renovation you're likely to do, especially if you want to maintain a certain budget. So those are the key things that one must begin with. And then once you've decided that, then you go back to style, which we talked about before. Those would be the key.
Tip, if you're feeling in a rut, just change your furniture around a little bit, or buy a new piece, and it will instantly give you a lift in your space.
Definitely, that provides some instant gratification.
Yeah. A new sofa can change the look and feel of your living room instantly.
Amazing. Wow. There's so much that you guys can do for us. This is great. And by the way, I have to tell you one thing. I live in a home. I live on Long Island and it's not huge. It's an average. It's like maybe like 3,000 square feet, maybe 2,800. But I use my dishwasher. I'm honestly challenged for like my supplies. Like you mentioned before, the closet and the oven. Like you got to make space sometimes. So I'm looking forward to talking more about making space too. Because right in these apartments, you also have to realize what's important. And let me just ask you about people who do downsize into apartments with the personal attachment. How do you tell someone? Because we're so personally attached to things sometimes that we maybe know we shouldn't be. We don't need that dress. We don't wear that dress. We still want to hold on to it. So how do you help people downsize?
You're the expert on that.
So as an image consultant, I spent a lot of years going through people's dressing rooms, people's closets, people's attics, and literally categorizing things and giving stuff away, selling couture that you don't wear anymore, giving it to friends, recycling it, or renovating the piece so that you wear it again. All are possible. But when you downsize a closet, you just got to get rid of the clutter. So you want somebody like an image consultant who deals with closets, or a stylist that deals with closets, or an organizational expert, but you want somebody who knows how to prune, whether it's your living room, your closet, or every room in your house. You want probably a professional with you if you have come to a point in your life where you feel like your stuff is taken over.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And sometimes you don't even realize that you're stocking stuff up. Samantha, when she saw my layout and everything, she thought that I was a hoarder. I always kept everything neat. But I was actually stocking up on pens and pencils and paper clips.
I have so many pens.
I love this stuff. And I mean, I had file cabinets full of it. I can't throw them out because, and I do use them, but she after a post said, do you
what
use,
is wrong with you?
When you leave the house, she takes a few each time and she puts them away.
Yeah, I mean, she did that for a while and it cleared things up. But we all do this. And sometimes it takes another person to say, hey, you know, so
and to hold your hand through the process.
Right. So we all hold on to too many things. And what I find as an architect, when spaces are designed, to talk about storage and not having too much storage. Sometimes you have an abundance of cabinets. We'll find a way how to fill all those cabinets. The more cabinets we have, the more we'll fill.
And the trick is to think of vertically.
Yeah.
Vertically. Yeah. You can use wall space in beautiful ways.
You can.
Cabineted, that it feels like there isn't anything there, but you open it up and your whole life is inside.
Got it. Yeah. Well, we must go. So let's remind everyone how we can reach out to you both about the Love and Design Project and, of course, to contact you for your services.
Oh, thank you. Well, you can reach me at Samantha@socialimage.net. You can also find me at SamanthaBessudodrucker.com. You can reach out to us that way. You can also watch Love and Design Project Reels on our YouTube channel, Love and Design Project YouTube channel.
Perfect.
We look forward to future episodes where we're going to get more in detail in specific areas. But thank you so much.
So excited to have you here. And again, sorry for our technical issues. It's starting a little late today, but we got our full show in, which I'm happy about. And really great meeting you both. And I love the story how you met. I love your chemistry.
There's a lot more to that.
And don't forget your book. I want to talk more about that as well in another episode as well. And more to the love story. All right, guys.
Okay.
Fantastic day. Happy Valentine's Day. Next week, we've got our Valentine's Day special. We'll talk about that.
So we'll talk a little bit more on Valentine's Day. We could talk about that on Valentine's Day.
Sounds like a plan.
And
thank you
we'll
so much.
We'll talk about a little bit about making your place a little more sexified.
Ooh, I like that one. Right? All right. Think we all do. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic weekend.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home.
that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.